Su Yi traveled to the world of high martial arts, but the timeline was more than 10 years ago. Under the prophet without a plot, unwilling to hold the book of knowledge in an ordinary hand, he could only grit his teeth and move forward. Keywords of the novel. Global High Martial Arts Knowledge Book. No pop-ups. Global High Martial Arts Knowledge Book TXT Complete Collection Download, latest chapter reading of Global High Martial Arts Knowledge Book. Chapter 1. Triple Bone Quenching. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Triple Bone Quenching. March 25, 1996. Magic City. I finally broke through. Su Yi finished standing at the stake without paying any attention to the solidified blood on his body. By quenching bones 3 times and accumulating qi and blood for a period of time, one can break through the martial artist. Su Yi also had no intention of quenching bones 4 times. The higher the qi and blood, the more difficult it is to improve in non-martial arts cultivation. If you still plan to break through, I don't know how much time and resources it will take. The most crucial thing is, he doesn't have the energy to optimize the quenching method anymore. The first optimization cost 100 energy, the second became 1000 energy, and the third time may not require tens of thousands. Over the past 2 years, we have only accumulated over 1,200 yuan of energy. It's better to break through the martial artist earlier and refine the lower limbs. He doesn't have a good system like Fong Ping, he can add some energy and mental strength without fear of loss. Envy. The path to becoming a warrior is not so easy, talent and resources are very important. Or perhaps because both of his parents are warriors, this physical talent is quite good, and his parents' inheritance and compensation also make him fearless of resource depletion. Of course, the biggest reason why we can break through the 3 times of bone quenching now is still because of the Book of Knowledge. It was said to be a book, but on the surface it was just a torn sheepskin, which merged into Su Yi's mind and turned into a library. This is one of the books that Su Yi purchased from the street stall, which he came to this world with. Or rather, it brought him to this world. Although Su Yi had various speculations in his heart, it was always good to be able to live a new life no matter what. Due to the damage caused by the Book of Knowledge, only deduction, optimization, recording, and core transformation remain. Transformation. It belongs to the core function of converting the beliefs of others into energy. Inference. You can obtain the direction and tactics needed to infer yourself. The more knowledge one has, the less energy they consume. Optimization. It can optimize the knowledge under one's control to better fit oneself. Recording. Recording knowledge is beneficial for repairing knowledge books. Name. Su Yi Realm. Triple Bone Quenching Qi and Blood. 147 calories/205 calories Spirit. 189 Hz per 299 Hz Knowledge. Basic Cultivation Method. Quenching Method, Optimization +2, a Horse Step Pile, Optimization +1. Station Reality, Basic Fist Techniques. Introduction, Basic Leg Techniques. Xiaocheng, Basic Swordsmanship. Deshang, Optimization +1, Energy. 51 points Damaged State. 3.75%. The data recorded in his mind is the result of his efforts over the past 3 years. There is no simple and rough addition like that of future kings, nor is it like him who can replenish qi, blood, and spiritual power at any time. Optimization only reduces the loss of qi and blood, which can further harden bones and reduce the difficulty of breakthrough, and also accelerate the absorption of pills. The quenching method was optimized twice, with 100 points each time and 1000 points each time. In addition, the optimization of horse stance and basic swordsmanship consumed a total of 1300 points of energy. And these energies were accumulated by him for nearly 3 years. It was only 2 months ago that he had gathered enough energy for the second optimization of the refining method. Even so, it took him 2 months to successfully break through. The third optimization requires 10,000 energy, which Sui cannot afford. Unfortunately, the optimized quenching method and horse-step pile are not suitable for others, otherwise if promoted globally, it is unknown how many energy points will be obtained. According to Suyi's research, the origin of energy does not necessarily require devout faith, and all fluctuations in his emotions can be absorbed and transformed by the Book of Knowledge. The conversion ratio is only different, and the conversion rate of positive energy is about 10 times that of negative energy. The emotions emitted by warriors are much higher than those of non-warriors, especially when the old principal heard that he wanted to apply for the magic martial arts exam and gave him 10 energy points. According to the research on the Book of Knowledge in the past 2 years, the accumulation of energy may be related to fluctuations in mental power. Compared to ordinary people, warriors have more active spiritual power. But quantitative change leads to qualitative change. Over the past 3 years, his portrayal of character has become a consensus among everyone, with genius and gentleness. It was tiring, but Su-yi enjoyed it. Spirit is Su-yi's proudest place, 299 Hz. Under normal circumstances, only third-grade martial artists have spiritual power, perhaps the reason for having a book of knowledge in their minds. Su-yi's mental strength reached nearly 200 Hz upon first inspection, and his powerful mental strength greatly enhanced his learning ability, even capturing some subtle movements, including muscle peristalsis. My mind sank into my mind, and a huge library appeared in front of me. The densely packed bookshelves were nowhere to be seen. The bookshelf was empty, with only the front shelf containing a dozen or so books about martial arts. Not extraordinary and unrecorded. Only martial arts knowledge can be recorded in the library, and Su-yi once planned to include scientific knowledge. But it failed. These books only increased restoration by 0.01%. The percentage in the damaged state line represents the repair process. Su-yi stepped up to the bookshelf and gently caressed the books with his right hand. A faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth and he said, "One day I will fill this place. Not only for the repair of the Book of Knowledge, but also for the great deduction in Su-yi's eyes. Without sufficient knowledge and understanding of oneself, it is not enough to deduce the most suitable cultivation and war methods for oneself. Optimization can indeed make the techniques more suitable for oneself, but after all, what is most suitable is still what one has created." Su-yi casually stretched his body, washed up a bit, and then picked up his phone to make a call. The bell rang a few times before it was connected. "Hello, Xiaoyi, what can I do for you?" Amidst calmness, a hint of concern sounded. "Uncle Qin, I've made a breakthrough, 3 bone quenching attempts." Su-yi did not conceal his joyful mood. "Really? It's only been 2 months now." Uncle Qin on the opposite side was a bit scared, but he broke through the bottleneck in 2 months. The improvement of qi and blood for non-martial artists becomes increasingly difficult, let alone the limit of bone quenching. I don't know how many people are stuck between first and second bone quenching. Not to mention 3 bone hardenings or 2 months. 3 times of bone quenching is rare throughout the country every year, and in some cases, there is not a single one in a year. Such a huge base can only prove one thing: it's too difficult. "Really, Uncle Qin, I just broke through while practicing the refining method and stake technique. Su-yi's tone was sincere and sincere. Okay, that's good. I'm in Moa right now, I'll go back. Come over for dinner later, I'll have your aunt cook a few more good dishes." "Okay, Uncle Qin." "Okay, hang up." Uncle Qin, who hung up the phone, didn't even notice that he was still in the principal's office and burst into laughter. "Nansheng, did Xiaoyi break through?" Grandmaster's hearing is so sensitive, the old principal squinted his eyes and asked with a smile. Qin Nansheng stopped laughing, choked up a bit, and replied with a mournful tone, "Yes, he has been bone-hardened 3 times, and this child is very energetic. Since the deaths of Mingjie and Xiuyuan, he has been like a different person, practicing hard. I still remember the day we sent the belongings of Mingjie and his wife back, and after seeing them off, we hid alone in bed, sobbing softly. Hearing that sound, my heart was almost shattered. 3 days, crying tired to sleep, waking up and crying again. If it weren't for the third day when he finally came out and found some food, I wouldn't have been able to resist rushing in. Qin Nanxing spread out in his chair and muttered in a reminiscent tone. Mingjie and Xiao Yuan once said that if possible, they would prefer Xiaoyi not to become a warrior. Warriors are too hardworking. I dare not tell him the truth, I can only infer that it was because of a mission. But that day, he knelt in front of me with red and swollen eyes, begging me to tell him the truth and saying that he also wanted to become a warrior. Very firm and serious. At that time, I didn't even dare to face his eyes, I was afraid. Speaking of this, Qin Nanxing smiled somewhat self-deprecatingly. Who would have known that the so-called deadly sword? Qin Nanxing was so afraid at times. The old principal didn't speak, half squinting his eyes and silently listening as if recalling something. I didn't tell him the cause of his parents' death, but I promised to teach him martial arts and only told him everything after we agreed on the 3rd grade. Qin Nan breathed a sigh of relief as he leaned his arms back on the chair and slowly said, after all, I can't think of any reason to stop a child from pursuing the truth about their parents' death. I can't persuade him. Even if I didn't teach him, he would definitely follow the path of a warrior. Seeing him is like seeing Feng Qing. If one day I die in the cave, maybe he will be the same. Nanxing, Mo Wu School has been established for more than 40 years, and we have also been guarding the Mo Du grottos for more than 40 years. I don't know how many children died in the caves because of my decision, and I don't know how many children walked down this path like Xiao Yi. The old principal stood up trembling, with moist eyes and a gentle, hoarse voice. It's really difficult to have one school and one cave. After so many years of ups and downs, many students have been left behind by me in the magic martial arts. Nanxing, do you hate me? Hate? Why don't you leave then? The old principal chuckled and didn't pay attention. He looked at Qin Nanxing and asked. Let's go. Why do we have to leave? I was planning to go to the detective bureau when you deducted all the resumes I submitted and fooled me into staying on campus. Do you want me to leave now? There's no door. Qin Nanxing spoke casually. Of course there is hatred, but more importantly, respect. I never left before, and it's even more unlikely that I will leave now. The old principal smiled and shook his head, this stinky kid. All right, teacher, I won't disturb you either. I'll go back first. I've been in the cave for a long time and haven't come back to take a look. Warriors rarely return home after leaving the cave. Many people even live directly in the caves, either breaking through and repairing, or dying in the caves. Qin Nanxing spent most of his time practicing and killing enemies in the dungeon, only occasionally returning for 1 or 2 days. Going home is for rest, so it can be considered a sign of safety. Okay. The old principal is also very busy. Although there are vice presidents and deans of various colleges at the top, and martial arts societies at the bottom to help handle various matters at the school, there are still many things that need to be dealt with. Regarding documents from the Ministry of Education, as well as various matters related to Hope City. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Teaching Warfare Techniques. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Teaching Warfare Techniques. Hanging up the phone, Sui couldn't help but feel a little emotional. I have been in this world for almost 3 years without realizing it. At the end of August 1993, 2 people knocked on the door of their original home. One is the principal of Mo, and the other is Qin Nanxing, a friend of his original parents. They came to report the funeral, and Sui, who couldn't bear the stimulation, fainted on the spot and merged with his soul. After waking up, he asked the 2 of them to leave on the grounds of needing to be quiet. 3 days later, Sui, who had fused his original memories, walked out of the house and bought some food. Warriors. He wants to become a warrior. How many young people have never fantasized about possessing supernatural powers? Internal power, supernatural abilities, and immortality. Su-yi did not have the desire to become an ordinary person, but he was unwilling. Not willing to be mediocre, unwilling to entrust life to others in the future, lacking strength, and even being worshipped by cults one day. And the fusion of memories is the greatest obsession of the original body. After sorting out his memories, Su-yi set his sights on Qin Nansheng, and as expected, he did not refuse. Who can refuse a good child who is solely focused on helping their parents seek revenge? Martial artist, it's almost there. Once we reach the pinnacle of qi and blood accumulation, we can start to break through. Su-yi stood in the mirror, slowly adjusting the curvature of his face. Be more sunny and confident, this is the state that Qin Nansheng and his team most want to see. They don't want their friend's child to be depressed, just like they hope their own child can be like Su-yi after being buried in the cave. Uncle Qin's home is not far, it's just 300 to 500 meters away, and it only takes a few minutes to arrive. Pushing open the door of Uncle Qin's house with some fruits, Aunt Qin was taking care of her own child. Seeing the fruit in Su-yi's hand, Qin Auntie angrily said, I've told you so many times, just think you're going home. Why do you always have to buy things recklessly? Su-yi smiled slightly and said, I bought it on the way. He placed the fruit on the table and rubbed Xiafengqing's head with his hands. The texture is still so good, he said, ignoring Qin Fengqing's widened eyes as she struggled. She laughed and said, it's still so cute. Hate it, you can't touch your head, it won't grow tall. Qin Fengqing frowned and shouted loudly. How could it be? Fengqing will definitely be a towering man in the future. Su-yi squatted down and looked straight into Qin Fengqing's eyes, saying very seriously. The little one in front of me couldn't see the rebellious and unruly posture he would have in the future. Qin Fengqing seemed a bit stunned and asked with hopeful eyes, really? Just like my dad. Children usually regard their father as their longing and pride, and Qin Fengqing is no exception. Of course, I will definitely do it. Su-yi chose encouragement, and a childhood affirmation can sometimes become a lifelong pursuit. During the conversation, Qin Nansheng walked in carrying a pile of vegetables. His mother, I'm back. As soon as the words fell, Qin Fengqing ran towards the door and rushed towards Qin Nansheng. Holding Qin Fengqing in one hand, he waited and laughed heartily. Fengqing, you have grown up a bit more. Well, I will soon grow into a man. Yes, Fengqing will soon be a man. After meals. Practice room. Xiaoyi, you have already quenched your bones 3 times now. You can break through the first level by accumulating qi and blood to the extreme, and you understand the process of breaking through. I have prepared the qi and blood pill, bone quenching pill, and fu protecting pill for you. Remember not to break through on your own, as there is always a risk without 4th grade care. I will only be back for a few days this time. When you break through, remember to find your martial arts class teacher to protect you, Qin Nansheng said earnestly and took out 3 bottles of pills to push towards Su-yi. Su-yi nodded, naturally knowing that Qin Nansheng was worried that he would expand and break through on his own. Mingjie and his wife had no close relatives, and after their death, Qin Nansheng took over Su-yi's guardianship and showed great care towards himself. Uncle Qin, I'm not that arrogant. There's no need to take unnecessary risks like this, so I won't commit it. As for the pill, the martial arts class will provide a breakthrough grade pill. I'll just take a heart-protecting pill. If you want to hold it, hold it. The school provides it, and this is what I gave. Put it away. Putting the pill into Su-yi's hand, waving his hand did not give Su-yi a chance to push it away. Su-yi was slightly taken aback and finally took it down. Well, let me see how well you are currently practicing your war techniques. Non-warriors themselves are not recommended to learn tactics, and it was only because Su-yi was stuck in the second bone quenching of Qin Nansheng that he was allowed to learn tactics. Qin Nanxing didn't think that Su Yi could break through the bone quenching 3 times in his heart. Cultivating qi and blood for non-martial artists is a skill that can easily harm his body and make him anxious. At this age, he is already a top-notch genius who has undergone a second bone quenching. However, since it has already been broken through, most of the time should have been spent on practicing the quenching method and pile technique. Now it's time to focus on the tactics. Warriors focus mainly on practical combat, and if they don't practice tactics, they will become qi and blood warriors. Picking up a wooden knife and waving it casually twice, Qin Nanxing said, "Come, let me see your strength." Su Yi calmed down his mind, took a wooden sword, stepped on it, and flew towards Qin Nanxing. Qin Nanxing stood motionless in place, and when Su Yi stabbed him with a sword, he casually blocked it. Touch, the sword was blocked and I hurriedly wanted to return it, but a pine wood sword from Huku was casually released. Ignoring the pain in his hand, he lifted his right foot and kicked towards Qin Nanxing. Grasp Su Yi's right foot casually and slowly give him a farewell. Has the basic swordsmanship been greatly improved? Qin Nanxing's expression was solemn. In 2 months, not only did he break through the bone quenching 3 times, but his basic swordsmanship was also greatly improved. He is a genius in practicing swordsmanship. The strength and burst of Su Yi's tactics have reached a sufficient level. Even in terms of leg techniques, I have achieved a level of proficiency. What exactly is your situation? Qin Nanxing couldn't conceal his shock. Can a normal person practice war techniques to a great extent? Su Yi scratched his head and spread out his hands innocently. I'm not quite sure, but I feel like the swordsmanship is very easy. I just casually practiced it. Free. Qin Nanxing couldn't accept it. Are all geniuses like this now? Back then, he was also a genius. Why did it take him half a year to cultivate a basic combat technique? What about your pile skills? Qin Nanxing asked cautiously. Standing solid. Still standing empty. If Qin Nanxing also breaks through his skills, he will have to consider whether he hasn't returned in just 2 months. Perhaps it has been half a year, but I just remembered the wrong time in the cave. Zhuanggong still stands in reality and has not made a breakthrough. After all, the recovery and supply of qi and blood are not sufficient. Even if you have been using qi and blood pills, it is still slightly lacking. Perhaps it was just that Su Yi's swordsmanship talent was relatively high, but Qin Nanxing reluctantly accepted this reality. If you are standing in an empty space, you can try to step on the water. When can you step on the water below your knees and adjust the center to not fall into the water? Mainly relying on intelligence, Zhuanggong is ultimately about adjusting the body's center of gravity. With your talent, you should be able to do it quickly. Qin Nanxing still gave a little trick. The stake technique only has 3 levels, and even second and third level martial artists who stand in the empty realm have not reached it. If Su Yi can achieve the level of first grade, learning a mid-level footwork and leg technique will have great benefits. Okay, thank you, Uncle Qin. Although Su Yi himself knew this trick and had not yet implemented it, it did not hinder his gratitude to Qin Nanxing. Over the years, Qin Nanxing has always taken good care of him, even taking him home multiple times. He often speaks with caution to avoid touching Su Yi's heart. But they were all rejected by Su Yi, perhaps because of their emotional attachment to home, or perhaps because they only wanted to leave themselves a private space. Qin Nanxing also respects his own choices and occasionally gives away some cultivation resources. Qin Nanxing picked up the wooden sword and threw it at Su Yi, slowly saying, "Your swordsmanship has both strength and explosiveness, but it's not fierce enough. Are you ruthless?" This is indeed Su Yi's weakness. After all, ordinary people in peacetime are only killing chickens and ducks at most. Even though they have learned many tactics, they still instinctively avoid important parts. The martial arts class is filled with young and energetic warriors, often experiencing friction. As the top scorer, Su Yi has gone through countless challenges and has steadily ranked first with his strong chi and blood and practical skills, let alone after learning the tactics. There is no lack of combat experience, what is lacking is the fierce force at the critical moment of life and death. Gripping the wooden sword tightly, Su Yi looked firmly at Qin Nanqing and said, "Uncle Qin, let's continue." Su Yi let out a loud shout, and his whole body was filled with blood and energy. He swung his sword and slashed towards Qin Nanqing, targeting his neck. Qin Nanqing's lips curved into a smile, and his demeanor was quite impressive. Turn sideways and kick his right foot towards Su Yi's chest. Pop. Su Yi was kicked several meters away and fell heavily on his back to the ground. It hurts too much. It's like a bone cracking open. The strength is good, but without subsequent changes, swordsmanship is not a fixed move. If you want to plan the subsequent combos well, you need to learn to adapt to the situation. You should know that the enemy is not an immovable target, you just lack practical combat experience. After becoming a warrior and taking 1 or 2 missions, you will understand, but the early tasks are also the most dangerous. Struggling to get up, Su Yi closed his eyes and digested Qin Nanqing's teachings, his thoughts began to simulate combat. Opening his eyes, Su Yi gritted his teeth and endured the pain, saying to Qin Nanqing, "Continue." "Okay, continue." Looking at Su Yi, who had not been hit at all, Qin Nanqing was very pleased. "Shua. This sword is good, with good transitions and transitions. Momentum is not enough. The combat technique is a killing technique, and a move is a must-kill, understand? The chi and blood are condensed to a point, and the moment you strike with your sword, the power erupts. Control the rhythm of the battle, use stickiness to bring me to your rhythm, rather than following my rhythm. Belief, attack with the idea of killing me, can you only use your right leg when the sword is blocked? What about your other hand? What about your left leg? Learn to predict where I will intercept your attack, and then change moves. You need to think about how to prevent me from intercepting your attack." As he was knocked down at the beginning, Su Yi was now able to hold on a few moves under Qin Nanqing's command. Like a sponge, he greedily absorbed the experience of the battle, watching himself make significant progress, ignoring the pain in his body, and continued to shout. "Continue. The sword has been knocked off, and you still have your fists, shoulders, knees, and elbows. You need to use all the parts you can attack." "Okay," Su Yi suddenly thought of something. "Get up close and punch him in the face." Qin Nanqing shook his hands and grabbed Su Yi's fists. Su Yi had anticipated and lifted his leg to kick him hard upwards. "Where did you learn from, bastard?" Qin Nanqing was about to be laughed at in anger, his legs pinched and he caught his leg. "I don't know where this stinky kid learned his moves." Su Yi took advantage of the entanglement between their hands and feet and bumped his head forward. With a loud bang. "Pain, pain, pain." Qin Nanqing quickly pushed Su Yi away with his backhand. Looking at Su Yi squatting on the ground with his head hugged, his face was speechless. "Foolish kid, that's a good idea, but although I use about the same amount of chi and blood as you, my bones are harder than yours, especially since you haven't started refining your skull in the 3rd grade yet. However, in the 3rd grade, it can be used to both sides, and you have a slight advantage over others by refining your bones 3 times. Su Yi hugged his head buzzing. Fortunately, he finally thought of withdrawing his strength, otherwise his head might have exploded. "Alright, that's it for today. I can stay at home for a few more days and continue tomorrow. I can take a few days off from school." After speaking, he took out a bottle of elixir from his pocket and placed it in front of Su Yi. "This is a healing pill. Go back and cultivate yourself well. Next, Su Yi is training with Qin Nanqing." Until the 3rd day, Qin Nanqing hurriedly picked up his knife and left after answering a phone call. Writing a book for the first time is indeed quite difficult. Sitting in front of the computer for about 10 hours, there are 7 or 8 hours to think about the plot dialogue, and indeed, the eagle is really powerful. Thank you very much for the recommended tickets. Some people have seen them and it feels good. Hehe, I only write around 10,000 characters a day, even 5 or 6,000. It's not tentacle monsters, I'm really sorry to everyone. I don't know how many words to send, so let's start with 1 chapter a day and save some drafts. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Registration. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Registration April 8th. Monday. Magic City. It's hot and windless, and the hot summer weather is like a raging fire, as if it's about to devour everything. However, even the hot and humid weather cannot change the youth's vitality. Magic City Affiliated Middle School, Martial Arts Training Class. Mosquito, have you paid the registration fee yet? At this moment, class had not yet begun, and 2 or 3 boys dressed in martial arts costumes were hooked up in the back corner for a discussion. Today is the day when the martial arts department starts to register. Not yet, we'll be together later. Are you planning to go to Jingwu or Mou? Cheng-Wen, sitting on the desk, shook his head and casually asked. Jingwu, my family wants me to apply for Jingwu. Sometimes I really don't understand why they all work at the Detective Bureau of Mou. Why don't you let me enroll in magic martial arts? It's close to home and convenient to take care of. The student standing aside scratched his head and replied with confusion. Yes, my cousin has also been advised for a long time, saying that men need independence and not always think about relying on their elders. Later on, I went to Jingwu and felt like they were keeping something hidden. The student who was speaking also had the same doubts, and it seemed that the elders didn't really want them to stay in the Magic City. That's not right. Cheng-Wen instinctively shouted and quickly said as he watched the 2 of them turn their gaze towards him. My family is quite supportive of me staying in the Magic City. That's not understandable. Each parent is different, maybe they really plan to exercise our abilities. Lai Yu murmured a few words, Are you ready to go to Mou? I heard that Su-Yi is the Mou you're going to. That's right, with Su-Yi as a role model, I will definitely make progress faster than you, Cheng-Wen said proudly. Both of them showed envious gazes. Su-Yi is a kind person who often helps his classmates solve problems, whether it is studying or practicing. At first, many people were quite dissatisfied. After all, they are all peers. Why would you be able to put pressure on me? However, bone quenching cannot compare with learning, and gradually no one compares anymore. Just as they were chatting vigorously, a voice came from outside the corridor. Well, okay, I will watch it. In the corridor, Su-Yi reached out and grabbed a pink envelope, saying sincerely and gently. This is not the first time he has received a love letter, he has already gained rich experience. Thank you. Thank you, senior. Faced with Su-Yi's radiant smile, the junior sister was obviously a bit shy. As she watched the envelope being taken, she hurriedly ran away. Wow. The 3 people in the classroom shouted loudly when they saw their junior sister leave. You should know that they are in a martial arts training class, and they usually practice to become martial artists. Moreover, as the college entrance examination is approaching, there is no time to start dating. Su-Yi didn't pay too much attention to the teasing of the 3 of them. Boys at this age all love teasing like this, and even daily cultivation can't dissipate their vigorous energy. Su-Yi, how are you? I haven't seen this junior sister before. She looks so soft and weak. Cheng-Wen couldn't contain his heart of gossip at first, and said with a wry expression. Yes. Does Su-Yi plan to accept it? The other 2 also began to coax each other. It's still not possible. The college entrance examination is coming soon, and I don't have the heart to think about it now. While speaking, Su-Yi walked to his seat, in the 3rd row in the middle. You might as well practice more with this time. Based on your strength, isn't that why the 2 major players are vying for it? Hehe, you don't know our strength. Cheng Wen confidently said, this lazy fish guy is really lazy. If he gets stuck in that 179 card, he won't move. Among the three of them, he and Li Xian have all successfully undergone a second bone quenching, leaving only Lai Yu stuck at the bottleneck. Fart, is this because I'm lazy? This is a bottleneck. Do you understand the bottleneck? Speaking of which, Lai Yu has rolled up his sleeves. If Cheng Wen dares to talk too much, he will let him know why Huaer is so red. This guy has been mocking me ever since he broke through the second bone quenching half a month ago. It's been half a month. This half month has been really tough, and Li Xian broke through a few days ago without saying anything. Su Yi has broken through 3 bone quenching tests. Who's like this guy? I was really careless in making friends. Haha. Looking at Lai Yu's expression, Cheng Wen couldn't help but laugh a few times and planned to continue mocking him. Anyway, Lai Yu can't beat him now. Well, that's it for you. They are all long-time bad friends, who doesn't know who. Seeing Cheng Wen's appearance shows his intentions. Before he could speak, Lai Yu walked around behind Cheng Wen and locked his throat, causing Cheng Wen to lean back repeatedly. You let go, lazy fish. If you don't let go, I'll get angry. Cheng Wen was suffocated and quickly shouted out loud. Dreaming, you guy, make you mock me. Lai Yu paid no attention to Cheng Wen's words and the waving of his arms. He must take a good breath today. It's not easy to let go if I can't fight head on, but it keeps me in control. Let you trick my pocket money. Let you call me lazy fish. Let you. The more I say it, the more angry I become. I really wish I could destroy this guy for humanity. The two of them have known each other since childhood and have been in a relationship for over a decade, yet they still keep teasing me. Su Yi and Li Xian on the side were watching the play, obviously accustomed to it. After a while of fuss, Lai Yu finally loosened Cheng Wen's grip. Cheng Wen rubbed his neck with his right hand and stared at Lai Yu, thinking to himself, this guy is really black. Lai Yu also stared back, unwilling to be outdone. Alright, stop fussing. How much qi and blood do you have now? Is there a test? After watching the play for a while, Sui couldn't bear to watch it anymore and quickly called for a stop. I just broke through the second bone quenching for a few days, and when I measured it the day before yesterday, it was 181 calories, Li Xian replied with a smile. I have 183 cards. Lai Yu replied somewhat dejectedly, I'm still the same as before. It's so difficult to break through the second bone quenching, I've been stuck for a long time. It's okay, take it slow. The bottleneck is urgent, Su Yi comforted sincerely. Ah, I envy you so much, Su Yi. It seems like you don't have any bottlenecks. You've successfully hardened your bones 3 times in less than a year. This is really enviable. In the entire martial arts class, there are only over 50 people who have undergone bone quenching 3 times, including him and Li Xian. The remaining 1 bone quenching is only 7. Envy +1. Envy +2. Envy +100. After chatting for a long time, some classmates have already arrived at the classroom. I practiced martial arts so hard that I only hardened my bones once now. My real name, Lu Kai, expresses envy. Lu Kai and several classmates walked into the classroom together. Yeah, envy +999. Envy +10086. Su Yi smiled politely and said, I'm lucky. Luck. Many people like to attribute their success to luck, not only because of humility, but also because it provides comfort to those who have failed. Look, it's not that I'm not working hard enough, it's just that I'm a bit unlucky. Even so, they cannot be considered failures. The weakest ones who can enter the martial arts class have 125 points of qi and blood. They are already beyond the reach of many ordinary people. Everything needs to be compared, and the perspectives and goals of different levels are different. During the chat, most of the classmates have already arrived. Mo.Do affiliated middle school belongs to the best high school in Mo.Wu, and Su-yi is in the top martial arts class. In the martial arts class, there is a lot of competition pressure, and each month's assessment is rewarded with various pills. Nearly half of Su-yi's resources come from the assessment rewards. His strong spiritual strength has enabled him to achieve top-notch academic performance, and he has never been replaced with the first prize in the martial arts class since breaking through the bone quenching process once. Su-yi, you are still so humble. Where did you get so much luck? Why didn't you see me break through? A crisp voice sounded, and Mao Qiutong smiled and said something. Mao Qiutong is the only girl in the second bone quenching process, and also Su-yi's desk mate. Both parents are martial artists in the 5th level realm, and my grandfather is also a 7th level master. With his talent and countless resources, he is still stuck in the second bone quenching. She still admires Su-yi very much, for his sunny and handsome appearance, as well as his natural talent and personality. Then let's put in more effort. Su-yi raised his eyebrows and showed a sunny smile. Ding, the bell rang, and the sturdy class guide walked into the classroom with big strides, holding a box in his hand. After waiting for the silence to subside, the class leader went straight to the topic and said, "Today we will start registering for the martial arts exam. I will now send out the registration form and start registering. The registration fee will be placed in the box on the podium." After finishing speaking, he casually placed the box on the podium and took out a stack of registration forms from the box to start distributing them. In just over 10 minutes, the registration forms were filled out and submitted one by one. Efficient and concise. This is a martial arts class. Is there anyone who doesn't apply for martial arts? Never. The status of a warrior is too high. High enough to make countless ordinary people jealous. Those who do not become martial artists will not be promoted in business, politics, or the military. Students from ordinary families would never miss this opportunity. The second generation of martial artists will not know, and those who do will not come to this martial arts class. After a brief count, the class leader propped his hands on the podium and spoke loudly. Tomorrow we will distribute a specific schedule for the martial arts assessment, as well as various precautions. Please give me a careful look. You also have information on the 5 major levels of martial arts, so please make up for any shortcomings during this period. After speaking, he strode away with a box in hand. There are 5 major levels of martial arts, so there is no need to pay too much attention to the political review. It is unlikely that there will be any problems with the political review that can enter the martial arts class. Professional exams and cultural courses are also fine. The higher the spiritual power of a warrior, the better their memory and comprehension abilities will be. With Su-yi's extraordinary mental strength, although he didn't spend much time on studying, he has always been the first place. Physical examination and actual measurement are normally the focus of martial artists, but for Su-yi, there is no problem. So after the class leader left, Su-yi also stood up and prepared to go to the office. Qi and blood have been accumulated to the extreme, it's time to break through the martial artists. Su-yi stood up and immediately caught everyone's attention. As the face of Class 1, Su-yi's movements were also constantly being monitored. Chengwen asked with some confusion, "Yi-gu, are you here?" Su-yi also did not conceal his intentions. "I plan to apply to the class leader for the protection of the breakthrough warrior." "WC. Are we going to break through so soon?" Cheng Wen's blurted words immediately resonated with his classmates. "WC. What? Dot. Surprisingly, is this about to break through?" The pressure instantly fills up. "Yi-gu, do you still lack a boyfriend?" Someone shouted. "Such a great talent, even for men, it's not impossible." Classmates also began to cheer up. "How could that be? Su-yi belongs to us girls, Jime. It's time to defend Su-yi's chastity." Gu, you are mine. Gu, marry me. Su-yi, with black lines all over his head, looked at his increasingly outrageous classmates and was speechless. He glared at the boy who was shouting at the beginning. Turn around and leave, ignoring the constant noise in the classroom. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Warriors. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Warriors arrived at the door of the office and lightly knocked on it. Enter. The class leader of the martial arts class is a specially hired student from the Magic City Affiliated Middle School, who graduated from both Magic City Affiliated Middle School and Magic Martial University. He is a martial artist in the 4th level realm. If you need to break through the 1st level in the martial arts class, you can find his protector. Seeing Su-yi, Yuan Li's face was covered in smiles, as the most talented student in the class. Su-yi has always been at the heart of teachers in various subjects, especially after breaking through the bone quenching 3 times. The principal has also come to offer condolences multiple times. After 3 rounds of bone quenching, the school's academic performance was directly boosted. In addition, Su-yi's personality and character are very in line with Yuan Li's taste. High school is already full of vitality, and with a group of martial arts practitioners, it's really frustrating. Although it is easy to be a genius with a prickly head, when encountering a more genius Su-yi, it is completely crushed. As he walked up to his desk, Su-yi spoke up and said, "Teacher Yuan, I'm going to break through the martial arts, and I would like you to help me protect the path." Has the accumulation of qi and blood reached its peak? There is still some time left for the martial arts exam, and if it can still increase, it is best to accumulate more qi and blood. Yuan Li asked with some concern. It has been nurtured to the extreme. Name. Su-yi Realm. Triple bone quenching qi and blood. 209 calories/209 calories spirit. 299 Hz per 299 Hz knowledge. Basic cultivation method. Quenching method, optimization +2, a horse step pile, optimization +1. Station reality, basic fist technique. Xiaocheng, basic leg techniques. Xiaocheng, basic swordsmanship. Deshang, optimization +1, energy. 266 points damaged state. 3.75% the qi and blood of 209 cards have stopped growing. In 13 days, the maximum qi and blood increased by 4 calories. With the school's widespread promotion of Su-yi breaking through the bone quenching 3 times during this period, his energy increased by over 200. On average, it is close to 20 o'clock per day, and the daily growth between secondary and tertiary bone quenching is only 2.3 points. Su-yi did not choose to optimize his basic boxing and leg techniques. With his cultivation speed, he can quickly cultivate 3rd-level martial arts. After breaking through the martial artist, he has the highest cost-effectiveness in cultivating mid-level combat techniques. The energy points are hard-won and must be used on the blade. Upon hearing this, Yuan Li nodded. In this case, breaking through warriors is indeed a wise choice. Even the strongest non-warriors are only non-warriors. Your resource principal has already arranged it: 1 quality qi and blood pill, 1 quality bone quenching pill, and 1 fu protecting pill. I will apply and get them soon. Do you also have fu dan? In the martial arts class, the resources for breakthrough warriors include a qi and blood pill and a bone quenching pill. Protecting the organ pill is not necessary, it is just safer. 1 EP1 qi and blood pill is priced at 300,000 yuan in the market, 1 EP1 bone quenching pill is priced at 50,000 yuan, and plus 1 EP1 fu protecting pill is priced at 60,000 yuan. A whopping 140W. Yes, it's because you broke through the bone quenching 3 times before actually arranging it. As you approach the martial arts exam, safety is the most important. It's not easy to harden bones 3 times. The entire Magic Martial Arts affiliated middle school hasn't produced many, so it naturally requires careful care. If there are any accidents during the breakthrough, the principal will cry to death. Yuan Li silently thought to himself. People are really more popular than people, and the treatment of geniuses is always different. You are practicing horse stance stakes, so you should be preparing to harden your lower limb bones, right? Su Yi nodded and first refined the lower limb bones. Although it did not enhance swordsmanship as much as refining the upper limb bones, it was able to run and fight. Okay, you sit here and wait for me for a while. I'll go get the pill. He said he wanted to leave the office. Su Yi casually sat in a chair and waited. Soon Yuan Li returned and handed the pill to Su Yi. He then unfolded a human meridian map and said, "You should be familiar with all 62 meridians that have been expanded, just in case you point them out in the order of expansion." As Su Yi pointed out each of the meridian branches in the diagram in order, Yuan Li nodded with a smile and said, "That's right, that's it. You'll take the Fu Fu Dan first, then the Bone Quenching Dan, and finally the Qi and Blood Dan that runs through the branches. If you feel insufficient Qi and Blood, take a Qi and Blood Dan. Use the Qi and Blood Dan's power to burst and continue expanding these semi-closed branches. With your Qi and Blood, even if you don't use Qi and Blood pills, the probability of passing through is very high. I will help you protect the path on the side, don't be nervous." Su Yi nodded, although it was possible to break through alone with these pills, just in case. Why choose 99% when it is 100% safe? The expansion of 62 semi-closed branches is even simpler than imagined. After 3 rounds of bone quenching, some of the branches have already been connected. However, in just over an hour, all 62 branches had already been connected, and Su Yi did not choose to take the first grade of Qi and Blood pill. Opening his eyes excitedly, he said, "Teacher Yuan, I have successfully made a breakthrough." Yuan Li nodded with a smile, not surprising. If we could break through like this, few people would have succeeded. Take advantage of the just connected branch, first practice the quenching method, then take the ordinary Qi and Blood pill to replenish Qi and Blood, and see how high your peak Qi and Blood value is. Su Yi took out a bottle of elixir from his pocket, poured out a regular Qi and Blood pill, and swallowed it. While restoring Qi and Blood, the panel of the Book of Knowledge was activated. Name: Su Yi Realm. First rank martial arts master Qi and Blood. 125 calories/239 calories spirit. 279 Hz per 315 Hz knowledge. Basic cultivation method. Quenching method, optimization +2, a horse step pile, optimization +1. Station reality, basic fist technique. Xiaocheng, basic leg techniques. Xiaocheng, basic swordsmanship. Deshang, optimization +1, energy. 268 points damaged state. 3.75% after about 2 hours, Su Yi, who had recovered to his peak state, stood up. Yuan Li noticed Su Yi standing up and said, "You have at least 230 calories of Qi and Blood. The peak HP of an ordinary first-class warrior is only 250 calories, and the newly broken second bone quenching that Yuan Li has seen is only around 200 calories. At least a 30-card gap. Thank you very much, Teacher Yuan, for protecting my path." Su Yi sincerely thanked me. Yuan Li waved his hand casually. "It's just a matter of personal responsibility. Your Qi and Blood are very strong, and the speed of bone quenching is much faster than others. The 3rd grade bone quenching is already without any pressure for you. By the way, teacher, I plan to take another leave of absence until I come back for the martial arts exam." Yuan Li was slightly taken aback and nodded, saying, "All right, go home and prepare well for the exam. There will also be more time for cultivation." Indeed, Su Yi has already surpassed martial artists, and his academic performance is consistently the top. Therefore, there is no need to come to school again, and the school cannot provide much help. After receiving the leave request, Su-yi politely bid farewell to Yuanli and left the office. On the way back to class, Su-yi was always beaming with a brilliant smile. We have successfully broken through the first grade, and at this time, the school will definitely give him a good momentum, show off the school's teaching level, and suppress the other high schools, making advance announcements for enrollment in the second half of the year. We can still harvest a wave of energy points. After the end of the martial arts exam, if we continue to interview some TV and newspapers, we may be able to make up for the third optimization of the quenching method. The two optimized quenching methods have already provided Su-yi with a 20% increase in qi and blood absorption, a 20% increase in bone quenching speed, and a 20% reduction in qi and blood consumption. If further optimization can be carried out, it should increase the speed of completing the third product by 1 month. Step by step, step by step. Breaking through the second level and completing tasks is a goal that Su-yi has already set. By then, he should be able to compete with warriors below the third level. The inheritance left by his parents, apart from the house he lived in, Su-yi sold all his shares in other industries. Apart from the resources used by non-martial artists for cultivation, there are still 120 million yuan in cash left. In terms of elixirs, there are also 2 first-grade qi and blood pills and 17 ordinary qi and blood pills. The cultivation of the third grade should be sufficient. Su-yi's task is not solely for the sake of resources, but more for the sake of seeing blood. Martial artists will eventually have to take this step. Just relying on imagination cannot feel that taste. In thought, Su-yi had already returned to the classroom and walked straight to his position to start packing up some necessary materials. The classroom happened to be a self-study class, and Su-yi's movements caught the attention of the students. Cheng Wen was the first to ask eagerly, "Yi Gu, did you successfully break through?" Everyone's gaze also turned to Su-yi, although they felt that Su-yi, who came in with a smile on his face, should now be 90% a warrior, but they still wanted a definite answer. Su-yi turned his head and continued to smile. "Of course, I also took a leave to go home and prepare for the exam." Amazing. Handsome. I knew how Yaij could have failed. Surprisingly, I took a leave of absence. I envy you. Su-yi's words instantly caused a sensation among all the classmates, with constant praise in their ears. "Ha ha ha, to celebrate Yaij's breakthrough in martial arts, we will gather at Mingyu Tower at 7 p.m. I will treat you and then go to the Blue Jade Bar. Tonight, we will have a private banquet and be happy together." It was Cheng Wen who spoke. Although Su-yi had the best popularity in the class, his personality was different. The 3 people who have the deepest friendship are Cheng Wen, Lai Yu, and Li Xian. Cheng Wen is a magnanimous person who often invites a few people to dinner together. Those who are well-intentioned also often respond, coming and going, and the friendship deepens. Mingyu Building also belongs to his family's industry, with a top-notch environment and taste that is praised by the Magic City. In addition, it is not far from the school, so it is usually the first choice for everyone to treat and eat. Cheng Wen's father was a mentor at Mo University, reaching the pinnacle of the 5th grade, mother, the pinnacle of 2nd grade, graduated from the Magic City Women's College. After graduation, she married Cheng Wen's father and chose to enter the business world for development. The Blue Jade Bar is also an industry under the name of Cheng Wen's mother. Wen Xiao is extravagant. Wen Gunyo Pai. Although the conditions for entering the martial arts class are not bad, everyone is also happy to participate. After the registration is completed, we will face the martial arts exam, and everyone also needs an emotional release. Su-yi looked at the noisy crowd and didn't say anything disappointing. It's also good to vent. Su-yi hugged Cheng Wenwen's shoulder and smiled. "Since that's the case, Mr. Cheng will pay for tonight's expenses." Oh. Yesterday there were 5 codes, so let's have 2 chapters today. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Sword Book Nameless. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Sword Book Nameless. After the excitement, everyone returned to silence and started reviewing. After organizing his study materials, Sui thought for a moment and took out a stack of pink envelope letters from his desk. He sorted them out and put them in his backpack. Sitting next to him, Mao Qiudong's eyes lit up as he tapped his pen on Suyi's desk and asked softly, "Do you still want to take these home?" Looking down at her, Sui smiled and replied, "Yes, it's all a heavy heart. Will you reply to the letter?" At this moment, Mao Qiudong casually asked, his pen tip moving back and forth on the book. Sui looked at Mao Qiudong thoughtfully and smiled gently. Yes, giving a response is basic politeness. Seeing Mao Qiudong feeling a bit down, he continued, "At least I won't consider dating before graduation." After graduation. It doesn't seem like much time either. Mao Qiudong suddenly laughed and said, "Well, indeed, the martial arts exam is the most important." After packing up his things, Sui carried his backpack on his right shoulder and turned around to leave. In his heart, there was a sigh, and at most, he had some appreciation for Mao Qiudong, far from reaching the level of liking. At this point, Sui could only start procrastinating. A girl's dream should not be shattered in his hands. Let time wash away everything. At 10 p.m. It has to be said that Cheng Wen did have foresight, perhaps it is uncertain whether he can intoxicate Sui. Not only did he arrange the hotel, but he also arranged the car. Whether at the dinner table or in the bar, these guys always prioritize catching Sui to drink, but with his strong qi, blood, and spiritual strength, Sui refuses to come and drinks over 2 or 3 classmates in a row. This made them retreat in recognition of difficulties. The metabolism of warriors is extremely exaggerated, and drinking alcohol can quickly digest them. Seeing that Sui couldn't get drunk, they each offered him a glass of wine and picked their opponents to compete in terms of alcohol tolerance. After finishing, they ran to the stage and started jumping and shouting wildly. Perhaps it has been suppressed for too long, except for a few girls who still retain a bit of reserve, everyone is releasing their pressure. As the initiator of this gathering, Cheng Wen also received countless toasts, along with Li Xian and Lai Yu, he was the first to lie down. Finally, only Sui and 3 girls who didn't drink much alcohol were able to leave the bar, while the others were all lying around. Sui found the person in charge of the bar and nodded reassuringly after learning that Cheng Wen had already made arrangements. After seeing off several girls, Sui, who was full of alcohol, got into the car and went home. 3 days later, Sui has been refining his foot bones for the past 3 days. I have successfully refined 2 pieces, averaging 1.5 a day. Normally, it takes more than 2 days to refine a single bone after 3 rounds of bone quenching in a first-grade environment. The 2 optimizations of the quenching method allowed him to refine bones at a much higher speed than normal. Although it is not as flat as the hanging square for the time being, infinite qi and blood can be refined into 1 piece the next day. But it has already been very satisfying. In order to harden bones faster, Sui plans to purchase some second-grade qi and blood pills to accelerate cultivation. Perhaps it may be a bit wasteful, but it can save a lot of time. Qin Nanxing came back from a mission today, so he stopped practicing. What? Do you want to use the second-grade qi and blood pill to accelerate bone quenching? Qin Nanxing asked in shock. Upon hearing Suyi's intention, Qin Nanxing felt somewhat incredulous and immediately shook his head. No, even though you have undergone 3 rounds of bone quenching, you still cannot fully withstand the medicinal power of the second-grade qi and blood pill. There is no need to waste it like this. The cultivation of 3 rounds of bone quenching is already very fast. You should have successfully tempered a piece now, right? Qin Nanxing thought to himself. Perhaps it was because Sui had successfully tempered a bone in just 3 days, and he was a bit anxious. But this is not too slow for a warrior who has undergone 3 rounds of bone quenching. When he did the second round of bone quenching, it took an average of 4 to 5 days to successfully refine 1 piece. The explosion of the second-grade qi and blood pill can indeed accelerate the progress of bone quenching, but it is completely unnecessary. Practicing is a long-term process, not an overnight one. Few martial artists would do this, and the cultivation of the first-level realm is not impossible. Su Yi shook his head and raised 2 fingers, saying, I have tempered 2-foot bones. Su Yi's answer left Qin Nansheng somewhat confused. Didn't it just break through 3 days? Quench and refine 1 piece a day and a half. Even if it's 3 rounds of bone quenching, there shouldn't be such a speed. Genius. At this speed, 62 lower limb bones can be successfully refined in just 4 months. In this way, we can break through the second grade before the start of the school year. Hey! Not right. Why do we need to rely on the second-grade qi and blood pill at such a fast speed? Qin Nansheng regained his senses and looked at Su Yi in confusion. He opened his mouth before Su Yi could speak. Seemingly feeling Qin Nansheng's confusion, Su Yi lifted his head and looked directly at Qin Nansheng, saying, Uncle Qin, do you remember what you promised me? The third grade will tell me the truth about everything. Su Yi paused for a moment and continued speaking, third grade, I will arrive soon. The resolute gaze containing a strong sense of belief made Qin Nansheng feel a bit dazed. This look really looks like Mingjie from the beginning. Is that so? Qin Nansheng knew in his heart that perhaps this had become his obsession. After thinking for a while, I finally nodded in agreement. Sure. But try to use the second-grade qi and blood pill only when I am around. Even if you have to harden your bones 3 times, there will still be risks. Normally, you should use a first-grade qi and blood pill for cultivation. Seeing Qin Nansheng finally let go, Su Yichang breathed a sigh of relief. Then help me by 21st. I also want to customize a sword made of C.grade alloy, with a length of 1.1 meters. Su Yi's height is 1.83 meters, and a 1.1 meter sword is the most suitable length he has ever tested. C.level. Qin Nansheng was a bit surprised, as he had just upgraded his deadly sword to A.level. The B.level weapon that was only used before. Yes, it can be used for a little longer. That's it, too. Qin Nansheng reluctantly accepted this statement, and even C.level swords can be used in intermediate levels. However, the cost is not low. 22nd grade qi and blood pills cost 20 credits each, with a cash payment of 600,000 yuan. 20 pills are worth 12 million yuan. A C.level weapon costs 40 credits per kilogram, and a 1.1 meter long sword weighs approximately 12.18 pounds, which is also close to tens of millions. If you don't have enough, I'll take it, enough. Before Qin Nansheng could finish speaking, he was quickly interrupted by Su Yi, and his resources were still sufficient. It's okay to occasionally accept resources such as qi and blood pills, but these large expenses cannot be generated by Qin Nan. He took out a bank card and handed it to Qin Nansheng, saying, there is 3,000 W in this card with a password of 930,830. Please replace the rest with quenching body pill. With his own bone quenching speed combined with the combination of bone quenching pills and second-grade qi and blood pills, Su Yi is not sure if his physique can keep up with the speed of bone quenching. Qin Nansheng instantly understood his thoughts, nodded, and was very thoughtful. 930830, that's not. Taking a deep glance at Su Yi, Qin Nansheng pretended to be calm and said, okay, I'll go exchange the pills for you later. You can come over this afternoon. Upon hearing Qin Nansheng's words, Su Yi did not leave immediately, but hesitated whether to speak. He is considering whether he should learn the intermediate level tactics in advance. Tell me, what else is there? Qin Nansheng caught a glimpse of his hesitant expression and said helplessly. The pills and weapons have all opened up, can there be anything bigger? Su Yi expressed his own thoughts. But Qin Nansheng shook his head and said, I don't recommend you to practice lower-level tactics. Your cultivation speed is very fast, and you can quickly break through the second level. After the second level, your qi and blood will be enough to support you in using the middle-level tactics. But the consumption of mid-level tactics is still too high for you now. If you use a few moves, your energy and blood will be depleted. The basic tactics are already enough for you to use De Cheng's basic swordsmanship, and Xiao Cheng's leg techniques are already sufficient for Su Yi to use. Su Yi pondered for a moment, but ultimately chose to accept Qin Nanqing's suggestion. It's not too late to practice after breaking through the second level. The key now is to harden the bones. Originally, according to Su Yi's idea, the mid-level battle strategy was optimized. If the energy and blood consumption were reduced after optimization, it should be sufficient for him to use. After reaching the second level, he can directly proceed with the mission. But if Qin Nanqing disagrees, let's forget it. If Su Yi insists, Qin Nanqing should still agree. But forget it, the original plan was to start the mission after reaching the second level, and if possible, cultivate the mid-level combat techniques first. Seeing Su Yi listening so attentively, Qin Nanqing nodded with satisfaction. In his eyes, a first-rate warrior is just a matter of honing his bones honestly. There is no need to aim too high. What's the use of cultivating a mid-level combat technique? As long as you dodge your attacks and don't use a few moves, you'll have to wait until you die and can't even run away. Moreover, the intermediate-level combat tactics are not easy to cultivate, involving many theories and detailed decomposition, which takes a considerable amount of time. By the way, your sword needs to be customized. You can customize any style you like. Long Yuan, please. Su Yi didn't mind the style of the sword and casually mentioned one. Qin Nanqing was not surprised either. The top 10 famous swords have been passed down since ancient times, and many people choose their styles based on these custom designs. There should be templates available. Have you figured out what to call it? This is your first sword? Qin Nanqing asked with a teasing smile. Most warriors have a great deal of emotional attachment to their weapons, and when customizing their first weapon, they usually give it a more moderate name. What is the heavenly sword for slaying the emperor? What is the divine killing? Qin Nanqing really wants to know what name Su Yi will give to the sword. As if feeling that Qin Nanqing wanted to see a joke, Su Yi smiled somewhat freely and said, "No need, the sword is the sword, the name doesn't matter." Famous swords are originally unnamed, and the so-called sword names are just desires imposed by humans. Su Yi certainly thought about how to name it, but it's just not suitable right now. Without getting the answer he wanted, Qin Nanqing didn't care and waved his hand to show his understanding. Today I want to play with a daily 10,000. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a vote, please vote for a recommendation and save it. If there is anything unsatisfactory about the book, please spray lightly, as there are many things that I didn't consider very carefully when writing a book for the first time. The first chapter is presented. I am from the KKK party, let's have 4 chapters today. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Cultivation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Cultivation. Quickly, Qin Nanqing arrived at the Magic Martial Logistics Exchange. Coincidentally, I met Li Changsheng, who had exchanged pills and was about to leave. After greeting each other, they came up to the person in charge and shouted, "Old Chen, help me customize a sword in Longquan style, 1.1 meters long, made of C-grade alloy." Sword. Nanqing, who did you customize this for? I remember your child doesn't seem to be very old either. The mentor in charge of the exchange office is named Chen Bowen, with a rank of 6. Chen Bowen asked with some confusion. Qin Nanqing only has one child at home, and he should be under 10 years old this year. Qin Nan replied happily, "It's for Su Yiding, the child of Mingjie's family. He has broken through the martial arts 3 times through bone quenching." Su Yi. Chen Bowen has met Su Mingjie once, although he has not had much contact with him. He is also a mentor from his classmate's school, so he still has some understanding. In addition, Recently Sui broke through 3 rounds of bone quenching, and although Qin Nanxing did not promote it widely, he often boasted in front of acquaintances that he had taught 3 rounds of bone quenching. So much so that many school mentors know about this genius and plan on how to bring this genius student into their pockets. But Qin Nanxing did not respond, saying that Sui was going to make the decision on his own, so this matter was left unresolved. So far, it's only about 10 days. Is this a breakthrough? Chen Bowen frowned and said, just as he broke through the martial artist, he prepared a C-level alloy sword for him. Nanxing, you're a bit spoiled, right? Only in the 4th level realm will one begin to choose C-level weapons, and 1st level warriors will not be able to use them. Qin Nanxing looked helpless and said, this is what he wants himself. He said he can think of using it for a longer time. I didn't intend to agree at first, but on second thought, he only quenched his bones 3 times. It won't be long for him to agree to the 3rd grade cultivation. Okay, since Qin Nanxing has already considered it, Chen Bowen won't say much anymore. 40 credits per kilogram for C-grade alloy, 7.5 kilograms for the 1.1 meter long yuan style, 300 credits. I won't include the customization fee, I'll get it in 5 days. Help me get 20 second-grade qi and blood pills and 10 body quenching pills. 1 second-grade qi and blood pill earns 20 credits, and 20 pills earn 400 credits. Adding the 300 credits of 10 quenching body pills, a total of 1,000 credits. After calculating the resources that Qin Nanxing wanted to purchase, Chen Bowen was somewhat surprised. Are these all what Sui wanted? Second-grade qi and blood pills, quenching body pills, but is he slow in bone quenching? It shouldn't be. Chen Bowen really can't figure out how Sui, who has been bone quenched 3 times, could have used these pills. No, soon, after breaking through 3 days, 2-foot bones have been successfully tempered. What? So what are you? Quenching 2-foot bones in 3 days. What speed is this? Even if the foot bones are not big, there shouldn't be such a fast speed. Even if it's 3 times bone quenching, getting 1 piece in 3 days is already very fast. Chen Bowen's face was full of doubts about life. Li Changxing, who was standing on the side and had not yet left, could still accept it. No matter how fast the bone was quenched, it would be the 3rd grade. The warrior still had to speak with combat power. At such a fast cultivation speed, there must have been no combat techniques practiced. Qin Nanxing understood Chen Bowen's expression and slowly said, the death of Mingjie and his wife had a profound impact on Sui, or rather a kind of obsession. I promised him before that I would tell him everything when I was in 3rd grade, so. The atmosphere suddenly faded a lot, although Qin Nanxing didn't finish speaking, everyone understood the meaning. Chen Bowen nodded silently. That's good, but we still can't let go of the tactics. If we only cultivate qi and blood without cultivating the tactics, even if we reach the 3rd level, it's meaningless. Speaking of Qin Nanxing, he was full of enthusiasm and stretched out 2 fingers, showing off. In 2 months, not only did he break through the bone quenching 3 times, but he also achieved great success in basic swordsmanship, small success in leg skills, and small success in fist skills. What? I couldn't calm down when I heard these 2 people, although I knew that Sui was stuck in the 2nd bone quenching for 2 months before breaking through. But I have never heard of it before, and I have also practiced so many tactics in the middle. Human energy is limited, how can one achieve bone quenching at the same time? War techniques can be practiced so quickly. Qin Nanxing sighed and said, he has a high talent for practicing swordsmanship and has already achieved great success without much practice. Unfortunately, he refuses to learn swordsmanship. The swords are so good and powerful. At first, he was preparing to teach Sui how to learn swordsmanship, but he was more willing to learn swordsmanship because Su Mingjie was a swordsman. Most of the tactics are interchangeable, and with such talent in practicing swordsmanship should not be inferior. Li Changsheng was a bit unhappy about what he said. Good swordsmanship, bad swordsmanship. It's great to learn swordsmanship, it's elegant and graceful. Most of the magic martial arts are done with swords. What kind of silly swordsman like you, a group of reckless men? However, such a good swordsmanship talent made Li Changsheng, who had never brought a new student, feel a bit itchy. How about bringing a new generation to try? Nansheng, why don't you let that kid worship me as his teacher? You. Forget it. Qin Nansheng gave a disdainful glance at the confident Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng's strength is strong, but his personality is not suitable for leading students. The disdainful gaze almost made Li Changsheng break through his defense, and he said fiercely, "What kind of gaze are you giving? Am I not strong enough?" He is famous for his Changsheng sword, which is of the 5th grade and the 6th grade, making it difficult for many people to lift their heads. Your strength is good, but have you ever led students? With your personality, how could you calm down and teach? Qin Nansheng can't rest assured that Li Changsheng is almost always someone who lives in a cave and has never taken any students with him. It's not a trap for him to take Sui. Nansheng, that's not right. There will always be a first time taking care of students. How do you know that I can't take care of them? A genius like this should teach me, and I promise to teach you a little Changsheng sword. Let's talk about it later. He'll decide who he wants. Qin Nansheng didn't care about Li Changsheng's reaction either, so he took the pill and swiped his card and left directly. Su Yi, who received the pill, naturally knew that Li Changsheng wanted to enroll him as a student. Hearing Qin Nansheng roast that Li Changsheng is not suitable to be a teacher and must not go there, Su Yi nodded quietly. Li Changsheng is indeed not suitable. Su Yi's target is Huang Jing in Wuquishan. Huang Jing has already surpassed his master and is now the dean of the Weapon Academy. He should not have the extra energy to recruit disciples. Wuquishan is still at the peak of the 6th grade and has not received any news of breakthrough, but according to the original work, it should be fast. In Qin Nansheng, Su Yi also received news that Wuquishan is expected to be a new mentor this year. But what's strange about Shang Sui is that it seems like Wuquishan broke through the master first, right? Anyway, maybe I remember it wrong, or maybe it's because of the butterfly effect changing, right? Time always flies by during cultivation, and it's April 29th in the blink of an eye. These days, under the accumulation of resources, Su Yi's bones have reached 30 pieces. I only need the remaining thigh bones to complete a limb quenching exercise. On the 8th, he successfully broke through the warrior, and on the 11th, he also tempered 2 foot bones. So far, Su Yi has refined 27 bones in 19 days, including even the more difficult to refine patella and calf bones. The remaining thigh bones should take another 2 to 3 days. Name: Su Yi Realm. First rank martial arts master, Qi and blood. 226 calories/285 calories spirit. 284 Hz per 336 Hz bone quenching. 30 pieces, 90%, 1 piece, 45%, 175 pieces, 30%. Knowledge. Basic cultivation method. Quenching method, optimization +2, a horse step pile, optimization +1. Battle reality, basic fist technique. Xiaocheng, basic leg techniques. Xiaocheng, basic swordsmanship. Desheng, optimization +1, energy. 992 points damaged state. 3.75%. The use of body quenching pill has indeed had a great effect, increasing the strength of the body significantly. Even without refining a limb bone, it has gained 285 calories of qi and blood. I used 11 second-grade qi and blood pills/5 bone quenching pills and 10 body quenching pills in 19 days. Sure enough, if you want to take a shortcut, you still need to burn money and ask Uncle Qin to help buy some body quenching pills. 520 credits. According to this situation, it will take over 30 million yuan to complete the lower limb bone tempering. The remaining cash should be enough to cultivate to the third level. The terrifying loss made Su Yi's scalp tingle. However, the accumulation of energy has improved a lot. It is estimated that there is more than 40 energy every day. It seems that the school's propaganda is very awesome. After completing his cultivation, Su Yi went to the nearby artificial lake to continue his water treading. The pile skill is about to break through, from the initial inability to find the center of gravity and frequent falling into the water to now, Su Yi's control of the center of gravity is becoming more and more proficient. Pu Tong. At a moment of distraction, Su Yi fell into the lake again. Ignoring the onlookers in the distance, they continued to practice. After more than an hour, Su Yi finally succeeded in reaching the station's airspace. Step by step, step in the air and take advantage of it to reach the shore, then turn around and leave. At night, Su Yi went to Qin Nanxing to get the quenching body pill. Qin Nanxing encouraged him for half an hour, then stuffed a bottle of second-grade qi and blood pill and a completed sword into Su Yi's mouth, and forcibly pushed Su Yi out of the door who wanted to refuse. Looking at the closed door of Qin Nanxing's house, Su Yi could only carry the pill and Long Yuan sword back home. Organize the pills and weapons. Su Yi began to tidy up his clothes. Although the number 1 testing point arranged this time was not far from home, the round trip was too time-consuming for cultivation, let alone the school's unified arrangement of food and accommodation. The professional examination from the 1st to the 10th can take a considerable amount of time. For Su Yi, the martial arts exam was just an easy task. What is important is his symbolic significance, the admission ticket to enter the Wuhan University. Although I am unwilling to be ordinary and have embarked on the path of being a warrior, there is always a sense of timidity in my heart. This is Su Yi's weakness, and he himself is well aware of it. After all, I haven't experienced it before. Even if I know the plot behind it, everything is just empty talk without the courage to take action. Moreover, there are still more than 10 years left until the rise of Fangping, and who knows how it has developed over these 10 years. The unknown is the most terrifying. Moreover, in this world, knowing the plot is not necessarily useful. Without strength, nothing can be obtained. Perhaps someone accidentally killed me while doing a task, or it's possible that after reaching 3rd grade, I would expand into a dungeon and die inside. Su Yi is also afraid of death, who is not afraid. He just wants to live and rely on himself to live well. If there were no books of knowledge, Su Yi would only be able to cultivate to the 3rd grade at most, with a sufficiently high status without having to work hard. Who knows if this world will really develop like the original plot, he only believes in his own strength. If one could have the strength of the young god, even if this world were destroyed, what would happen? You can still go to chaos to search for other life planets. Chapter 2, End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Martial Arts Examination. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Martial Arts Examination April 30th. In the morning, by the time Su Yi arrived at the school gate, there were already many students gathered. The principal and Yuan Li are chatting outside the gate. Seeing Su Yi with a long sword on his waist and a shoulder bag on his back, Yuan Li quickly waved to signal. "Hello principal, hello teacher Yuan." Su Yi walked up to the two of them and said hello one by one. Su Yi's massive qi and blood were immediately perceived by two people, with at least 280 calories of qi and blood. They couldn't help but glance at each other, and both saw each other's shock. The principal of Magic City Affiliated Middle School is also a warrior with a 3rd-level realm. After regaining his senses, the principal couldn't conceal his joy and spoke up first. "All right. You are truly a genius in our school. You are truly beyond our expectations. It has only been over 20 days since you broke through martial arts, and you have made such great progress." Yuan Li also hurriedly asked, "Su Yi, how many pieces of bone have you quenched?" 30 yuan. 22 days, 30 yuan. At the end of April, which means we can reach the peak of the first grade by the end of May. If we break through the second tier quickly, we can reach the peak of the second tier during the summer vacation. Yuan Li suddenly felt that the world was not worth it. Is this a genius? He only reached the peak of his second grade in his senior year, while Su Yi was able to achieve it before entering school. Is there such a big gap between his talents? The principal is quite open-minded. The speed of cultivating a genius warrior in the third grade is already fast. Now, what he wants is to cultivate such a student. How much reward will the education department give? After chatting with the smiling principal, Su Yi arrived at the class gathering point. Su Yi didn't come early, almost everyone in the class had already arrived. Seeing Su Yi arrive, everyone greeted him one after another. After chatting with Cheng Wen and a few others for a while, I saw that Yuan Li had already started to greet him to get on the car. The number 1 testing center is not very far from affiliated middle school, but within half an hour, we arrived at a hotel outside the testing center. This hotel has always been a designated hotel of Magic City affiliated middle school. The room was quickly arranged, with 1 room per person. Arriving at the room to pack his luggage, Su Yi had no intention of going out for a stroll. He took out a sign that was being practiced and hung it outside the door, starting bone quenching again. Rather than going out and wasting time, it's better to practice and watch the qi and blood increase on the panel. The visible strengthening is also one of the driving forces that Su Yi has been able to maintain in his cultivation. The next day, after the hotel gathered for roll call, everyone led by Yuan Li arrived outside the inspection point. There are only 3 schools that have been assigned to checkpoint 1, except for Mo Du Fu Y and Mo Du Women's High School and Mo Du Si Middle School. The other 2 schools are at least 2 levels behind the Enchanted Affiliated High School, and the strongest ones are only hardened once, even in small quantities. There are nearly 200 students taking the martial arts exam at Magic City Affiliated Middle School, while the other 2 schools combined are only over 100, and their strength is also quite significant. Therefore, Yuan Li did not say that it would be inappropriate to let someone burst out of qi and blood to affect others' performance. However, even so, the students from the other 2 schools are still far away from the students from the affiliated high school for fear of being affected. Su Yi was also somewhat speechless. This was the first time a girl had seen him and fled as if she had seen a ghost. But I can understand that this is a martial arts exam, and many people have been preparing for it for several years. Ordinary families are even more dependent on debt, although Su Yi knows he won't specifically influence others, they don't know. Even if you know, you won't get close. If Su Yi's qi and blood burst, it can really cause a person's state to plummet. Thanks to the blessing of the school, all high schools in Magic City know that affiliated middle school has produced a 3-time hardened warrior this year. In the eyes of students applying for martial arts, Su Yi is definitely the number 1 demon king. As the testing began, Su Yi also lined up and entered the testing center in order. The previous examination passed easily, and Su Yi walked towards the gathering area of qi and blood. At this point, there were already many students who had passed all the previous tests. Within a minute, a middle-aged man in a white coat walked out. Classmates. In the martial arts exam, qi and blood are of utmost importance. Many students, in order to pass the qi and blood test, spare no expense. But I want to remind everyone that there is only one life, cherish it. Warriors should strive, which does not mean blindly striving. Many students have prepared a temporary burst of pills for qi and blood testing, which is allowed by the rules. However, you need to consider carefully that some students are willing to take pills that exceed their tolerance limit to achieve a brief burst. Every year, many students get injured or even die as a result. A warrior is not a warrior, let alone a barbarian. Wen can establish a country, Wu can establish a country. Only those who are well-rounded in both literature and martial arts are truly warriors. Simply using force without using one's mind is a thug, a reckless man, not a warrior. So, as usual, I would like to remind everyone at the end that if there is an accident during the qi and blood test, you will be responsible for the consequences. Regarding the white coat, Su-yi was somewhat non-committal. A warrior is a warrior, as long as they are strong enough, no one dares to underestimate even a warrior. Speaking of thugs, Su-yi's first thought was Li Zhen, and he couldn't help but smile. Now, qi and blood testing is officially starting. Students enter the qi and blood warehouse for testing according to the displayed number, school, name, and candidate number on the screen. The number represents the qi and blood warehouse number. Seeing his own number displayed, Su-yi walked towards the 23rd qi and blood warehouse. Su-yi has used qi and blood song many times, and after taking one EP1-10 qi and blood pill, he skillfully enters the qi and blood song to stimulate his emotions and unleash his qi and blood. After bursting out of qi and blood, Su-yi returned to the gathering point just now. Yuan Li smiled with satisfaction. I just received a message that with 285 cards, this year's top scorer in the Magic City is none other than you, and even the national top scorer is very likely. In actual testing and subsequent professional tests, Yuan Li is not worried at all. As long as the cultural courses can maintain the previous level, the top scorers in the country will be stable. Su-yi's cultural assessment has never dropped by 740 points, which is why Yuan Li has such great confidence in Su-yi. Returning to the hotel, Su-yi continued his cultivation. In the blink of an eye, we arrived at number 3, and Su-yi successfully tempered the thigh bone of his right leg. Formally completed the refining of one limb bone. Today is the time for the Education Bureau to announce the physical examination standards, but this is a small matter for the martial arts classes in affiliated middle school, so there is no notification for the meeting. At 8:30, Didi, the phone rang with a text message, a message sent by Yuan Li-kun. This year's qi and blood standard is 105 calories. After reading it, I quickly closed the SMS page. 105 cards are not low, but for martial arts classes with a minimum of 125 cards, it's not a big deal. It's just difficult for ordinary people. Drip. Another text message sound started, picked up the phone and took a look. It's still the message from Yuan Lifia. Congratulations to Su-yi on becoming the top scorer in the martial arts examination of the Magic City. Drip. Drip. Dot. Suddenly, more than 10 text messages emerged, all of which were similar congratulatory messages. Teachers with principals, teaching directors, and various subjects. Drip. Drip. Good guy. The information of classmates like Cheng Wen and Li Xian is also starting to flash on the screen. Silently turning on the mute, Su-yi planned to reply in half an hour. In the blink of an eye, the actual test and professional exam had already ended. The actual test mainly focuses on physical fitness assessment, which is just a passing experience for Su-yi. The content of the professional exam is the same, and Su-yi has already memorized it. The next step is to go back and prepare for the cultural class exam. The proportion of students admitted by Wuhan University is not solely based on their qi and blood. Although qi and blood account for the majority, accounting for 50%, cultural courses account for 25%, and professional courses account for 15%. Tested at 10%. If other grades can be scored high, the requirements for qi and blood will also be relaxed. After the exam, I went back on my own and received a call from the school in the evening. It is the top reward for qi and blood testing, with the school giving a reward of 200,000 yuan and the education department giving a reward of 300,000 yuan. The education department generally sells between 200W.300W, which Su-yi is aware of. However, the school's rewards were also higher than usual, which surprised Su-yi. It seems that the school has benefited a lot from the education department. During the time he returned home, Su-yi had been practicing. For over 20 days, taking drugs, practicing, quenching method, and quenching the body. Finally, on May 26, I completed the tempering of my lower limb bones and reached the peak of my first grade. Approximately over 30 million resources were spent in total. A regular first grade, regardless of time and speed, would only cost 3 to 5 million yuan if taken slowly. Of course, the cost effect is also very obvious, and all 62 lower limb bones were quenched and refined within a month and a half. The physical fitness has also greatly improved. Name: Sui Realm. First rank martial arts master, Qi and blood. 296 calories/329 calories spirit. 364 Hz per 389 Hz bone quenching. 62 pieces, 90%, 144 pieces, 30%. Knowledge. Basic cultivation method. Quenching method, optimization +2, a horse step pile, optimization +1. Stationary space, basic fist technique. Xiaocheng, basic leg techniques. Deshang, basic swordsmanship. Deshang, optimization +1, energy. 3863 points damaged state. 3.75% during this period, shortly after the end of the martial arts exam, the accumulation of energy points has also made rapid progress. Over the past 20 days, it has risen by nearly 3,000 energy points, averaging over 100 points per day. It is indeed important to become famous early, as the school's promotion cannot compare to the comprehensive promotion in the listing. If the speed of energy accumulation had been the same before, the third optimization of the bone quenching method would have started long ago. Although there were already many energy points, Sui did not choose to optimize those basic tactics. It's already the peak of the first level, and I don't know how many energy points it will cost to learn tactics after reaching the second level. The third optimization of the quenching method requires 10,000 yuan, and can only be achieved after the college entrance examination. After reaching its peak, one still needs to accumulate qi and blood for a period of time. The body and qi and blood are still slightly inferior in order to reach their peak state. Sui thought to himself, although he estimated that he could start breaking through the second grade in at most 3 days. But to some extent, I still feel a bit uncomfortable, as my immersive cultivation state has been interrupted. Sui spent these 3 days practicing war tactics. On the third evening, Sui made a breakthrough using the already prepared second-grade Fu protecting pill and second-grade bone quenching pill. He still has quite a few second-grade qi and blood pills. Chapter 3 Omega, end of this chapter. Chapter 8. The end of the college entrance examination. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 The end of the college entrance examination. Name: Sui Realm. Second rank martial arts master, qi and blood. 339 calories/359 calories spirit. 398 Hz per 409 Hz bone quenching. 62 pieces, 90%, 144 pieces, 30%. Knowledge. Basic cultivation method. Quenching method, optimization +2, a horse step pile, optimization +1. Stationary space, basic fist technique. Xiaocheng, basic leg techniques. Deshang, basic swordsmanship. Deshang, optimization +1, energy. 3874 points damaged state. 3.75% After breaking through the second grade, Sui couldn't wait to find Qin Nansheng. During this period, Qin Nansheng usually comes back for about a week to stay for 1 or 2 days. Perhaps for the convenience of Sui's search, he would send a message to Sui before returning or leaving. He hasn't gone out to do the task yet. At the first glance of Sui, Qin Nansheng sensed that he had surpassed the second grade. Smiling and shaking his head, it seemed like he had just broken through. I feel a bit anxious, but it's understandable, young people. It's normal to be impatient. The intermediate level battle method is developed for martial artists who have completed the quenching of their limbs and bones. Sometimes there are some limitations, mainly the limitation of qi and blood, which consumes a lot. There is a high demand for qi and blood, on the one hand because it consumes qi and blood, and on the other hand, as a mid-level combat method, it has some powerful explosive ultimate moves. What tactics do you want to learn? Swordsmanship, as well as footwork. Su-yi had already figured out the battle method to cultivate, and after thinking for a while, he continued to add, the footwork is suitable for long-distance attacks. Do Uncle Qin have any recommendations for swordsmanship? Swordsmanship is the most suitable way for Su-yi to increase his combat power. Su-yi thought of a more suitable cave for long-distance travel. Qin Nanxing smiled slightly and said, let's use the Falling Eagle sword. The Falling Eagle sword is unpredictable and unpredictable. The explosive ultimate move is also quite good in swordsmanship, and the technique is even more exceptional. You can focus on both explosive and technical skills. Okay, then please trouble Uncle Qin. Qin Nanxing nodded and asked Su-yi to go back first, and then go to the training ground to learn tactics in the afternoon. In the afternoon. Training ground. Upon seeing Su-yi arrive, Qin Nanxing pointed to a pile of books and said, intermediate-level warfare involves a lot of theories and is also divided into detailed parts. First, take a look at the martial arts materials. I'll rehearse it for you a few times later. Although Qin Nanxing used knives, he also dabbled in general weapons such as swords, guns, and sticks. You don't need to be proficient, but you need to understand everything. Su-yi started flipping through books such as The Falling Eagle Sword and Cloud Steps. Su-yi has some understanding of cloud steps, and that's what Fong Ping learned. Unique way of exerting force, exploding qi and blood to make speed faster and more organized. With the assistance of the previous station's aerial skills, Su-yi's combat power and escapability can be greatly improved. There are many theories involved in the middle-level warfare, including the movement of qi and blood, muscle mobilization, meridians, and acupoints and orifices. There are also many sword techniques for unleashing qi and blood. I took a rough look at it and carefully observed how many times Qin Nanxing practiced his tactics. It took Su-yi almost 2 days to become proficient in the materials when he returned home. The medium-level tactics are indeed very difficult. Su-yi put down the materials and thought to himself. Having mastered the materials, Su-yi concentrated his thoughts on the book of knowledge and planned to optimize the tactics. A single optimization of mid-level combat requires 1000 energy points, which is 10 times more energy points compared to basic swordsmanship. Su-yi's eyes twitched, although he had a premonition that the optimization of mid-range tactics would definitely be much higher. He did not expect it to be so high. So the second optimization doesn't cost tens of thousands. After thinking for a long time, Su-yi gritted his teeth and only optimized once, weighing whether it was worth it or not. Originally intended to be reserved as an energy point for the refining method, but the optimized strategy can better increase Su-yi's combat effectiveness. Although Su-yi's qi and blood are not low, the consumption of mid-level tactics is still too high. The average second-level peak has 400 calories of qi and blood, and Su-yi is still quite short. Reducing consumption by 10% after optimization is really delicious, increasing battery life. Moreover, after optimization, it will be more in line with oneself, and the combat power will also increase significantly. Name: Su-yi Realm. Second rank martial arts master qi and blood. 355 calories/361 calories spirit. 401 Hz per 411 Hz bone quenching. 63 pieces, 90%, 1 piece, 75%, 142 pieces, 30%. Knowledge. Intermediate warfare. Falling Eagle Sword, optimization +1, intermediate step method. Cloud Step, optimization +1, basic cultivation method. Quenching method, optimization +2, horse step pile, optimization +1. Station airspace, basic fist technique. Xiaocheng, basic leg techniques. Deshang, basic swordsmanship. Deshang, optimization +1, energy. 2174 points damaged state. 4.65% seeing the energy that had just accumulated to over 4,000 instantly shrink by half, Sui felt a bit heartbroken. The only good news is that the Book of Knowledge has fixed many states. Based on the remaining information, Sui learned that the ability to repair knowledge books to 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, and 100% will be improved. The absorption of energy points will be strengthened, and the energy points consumed by functions such as deduction and optimization will also be reduced. 20%, it should be after going to the magic martial arts room for a period of time to reach it. There are less than 10 days left for the cultural class exam, and Sui plans to do the task after graduation. There are still 3 months left until the start of the magic martial arts school. It is worth mentioning that as soon as the martial arts examination was over, the Jingwu admissions office and the Mou admissions office called to invite Sui to apply. Although the treatment given by Jingwu was not bad, Sui didn't want to go and chose Mou. 300 credits of admission scholarship, free provision of 3rd grade breakthrough pills, mentors for at least 6th grade strong individuals, and many benefits. There are also tens of millions of rewards in total. Although Jingwu's treatment is similar, the most important thing is Zhang Tao. It's not suitable for Sui to go to Kyoto with Zhang Tao, but it's unclear where his current strength is. After all, Sui's secret is not small, and he is too weak. If Zhang Tao's spiritual power perceives his difference, he will definitely become the focus of attention. Knowing Zhang Tao's personality well, he had already decided not to go to Kyoto. The pattern is too high, one can sacrifice everything, including oneself. Before having a certain level of strength, Sui had no intention of dealing with Zhang Tao. Moreover, Sui still needs to eliminate his original obsession. The time for cultivation always passes quickly. The college entrance examination on the 7th will take Chinese in the morning and mathematics in the afternoon. On the morning of the 8th, I will take the political history and geography exam, and in the afternoon, I will take the science and chemistry exam. The cultural class exam is easy for Sui. The spiritual power exceeding 400 Hz has greatly increased memory and comprehension. On the afternoon of the 8th, the college entrance examination officially ended. Sui also had a gathering with his classmates. Eating, drinking, and singing. They have been suppressed for too long, and everyone is venting their emotions. Lament, cry, confess. At the end of the drink, Sui also felt a bit drunk. Several female classmates also expressed their feelings to him under the influence of alcohol, but he politely declined them one by one. These Mao Qiudong also noticed and gestured to Sui with a glass of wine. Sui, you said you wouldn't consider dating before graduating from the college entrance examination. So now that you've graduated, don't you plan on dating? Mao Qiudong's voice also carried a hint of drunkenness, with a red face and slightly evasive eyes. I don't plan on it. Sui recognized the meaning behind the words, but still refused. Why? The meaning in Sui's words can naturally be understood by Mao Qiudong. Being rejected was expected, but she still didn't want to leave any regrets. Sui smiled lightly and said, there are not so many things in this world. Why? Appreciation is not liking. I don't want to consider emotional matters at the moment, I have more important things to do. Sui casually found a universal excuse, or rather, it was not an excuse. Cultivation is already a more important thing for him. Sui doesn't want to fall in love, and if he meets a girl who moves his heart, he also goes back to pursue her. Appreciation is appreciation, liking is liking. Sui distinguishes these two things very clearly. But it's also not good, refusing too decisively. 3 years of high school classmates, Sui still values the friendship between classmates very much. Sui, I like you. Mao Qiudong's frankness surprised Su Yi for a moment. The ways in which girls and boys choose are mostly different, with boys expressing themselves recklessly and passionately. Girls usually play side drums and express their feelings in a joking tone. The first few girls all expressed their confession in a gentle way, and Su Yi also politely refused. Thinking of this, Su Yi raised his eyebrows and smiled. Did you lose the big adventure? Mao Qiudong also smiled, but shook her head and said, this is true. Before Su Yi could speak, he quickly said, don't refuse. I just don't want any regrets in the future. Do not accept or refuse. I like you, it has nothing to do with you. Su Yi took a deep look at Mao Qiudong, knowing that this moment was hard for him to forget. Raise the cup and gently smile, saying, Autumn Tong, have another drink. Ha! One cup is not enough. I'm going to study in Jingwu, and I don't know when it will be the next time we meet. 3 years. 5 years. Perhaps it will never be seen again. Then don't go back until you're drunk. Okay. Don't go home until you're drunk. Consider it the final carnival, Su Yi thought. After the exam, everyone will go their separate ways, some will go to Jingwu, some will go to Mou, and some will go to other martial arts universities. It's hard to say whether we can get together again in the future. I don't know how many people will go to Mo Wu, and all he knows is Cheng-Wen. The 3 people who have undergone secondary bone quenching, Li Xian and Mao Qiudong, are all going to Jingwu. Lai Yu also went to Jingwu. Despite being stuck in a bone quenching, he still couldn't break through. He broke through the martial artist before the exam. Li Xian and Mao Qiudong also broke through early on. Quenching bones 3 times is too difficult and a waste of time. It's better to break through earlier and start hardening the bones. I don't know how many of the remaining 11 first-rate bone quenchers will go to magic martial arts. Even in the same school, there may not be many opportunities to meet, and students from Wuhan University are busy, especially from the 2 universities. After the 3rd grade, there is even less time to learn about the caves. The time for cultivation will feel insufficient, and who would specifically contact classmates? I don't know how much I drank, and in the end, I don't know who suggested it. Everyone caught Su Yi pouring wine, and Su Yi refused to come. Finally, Su Yi, who was lying down, was driven away by Qin Nansheng. Chapter 4, Today is 12,000. Hee hee. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. First task. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. First task. The next day. Su Yi, who had come to his senses, quickly began to wash up, feeling a bit nauseous from the smell of alcohol all over. Graduated. There will be over 2 months of vacation ahead. Su Yi plans to do a few small tasks first to see blood. After patiently practicing for 2 days, Su Yi came to his door after receiving the news that Qin Nansheng had returned. Qin Nansheng led Su Yi to the District Investigation and Enforcement Bureau and began explaining, after joining Wuhan University has a specialized task system. Tasks from the military headquarters, the Investigation Bureau, and the police station can all be taken over there. Some mentors or students from Wuhan University will also post tasks on it, and you can also do them upon arriving at the Investigation Bureau. The 2 registered their martial arts certificates and entered the external task hall of the Bureau. There are many computers in the task hall, all of which are black and white desktop computers. After finding 2 seats to sit down, Su Yi began to log into his warrior ID, and soon many tasks were recommended. Most of them are 2nd grade, and there are also some 1st grade tasks. Most of the 2nd grade students are in the middle school stage of the 2nd grade. This is your first time doing a task, so it is recommended that you find a top tier or 2nd tier task. At the 3rd grade high stage, the task system will have an additional type of recruitment task. Middle grade warriors have a mandatory number of tasks to complete each year, and recruitment tasks must occupy a certain proportion. Qin Nansheng also logged into his mission system. Su-yi nodded clearly, the cave. Only the third and higher grades in society will know about the underground cave, and the fourth grade will forcibly start recruiting. It also gives some ordinary people a choice, so if they are afraid of death, don't break through. Watching each message settle, Su-yi quickly selected a task. Name. Chendong. Gender. Male. Age. 37 years old. Strength. In the first stage of the second grade, the lower limb bone has been quenched and refined, with bones between 65 and 70. It has no hot weapons and may carry cold weapons. It cultivates basic fist and foot combat techniques and has no special combat skills. Case. On June 3, 1996, due to a conflict between peers, they engaged in a fight and took action, resulting in the death of 2 individuals. They then fled, with the deceased being a mid-level warrior of the first rank and a high-level warrior of the first rank. They first fled to the western suburbs. The case can be handed over to the Investigation and Enforcement Bureau of Beiding District, Magic City. The task taker can contact the Beiding Bureau for more detailed information. Reward. 450000 cash or 15 credits. Danger level. Medium. Suggestion. Second grade mid-level warriors or 2 second-grade beginner-level warriors. The goal of this mission is similar to that of oneself, without any special tactics, and there must be a significant gap in strength. After selecting the task, the 2 of them came to an office. A staff member wearing work clothes began to come over to receive them. What task are you taking on? What is the number? 1996060307777, his name is Chendong. The staff opened the computer and checked it, saying, a second-level warrior in the early stage, entering the second level for the first time, has average strength. Now in the western suburbs, according to the latest intelligence, it is in Zitting Village. You can go and contact the personnel there later after receiving intelligence and the phone number of Zitting Village investigators. Qin Nanxing drove Su-yi to Zitting Village. Su-yi is currently in contact with the personnel of the Investigation Bureau to confirm the location. 1 hour later, Chendong's location had been determined, which was the farthest residential building in Zitting Village. In order to startle the snake, Su-yi had already collected the sword. Wearing a sportswear uniform and carrying a guitar box, he looked like an ordinary student. Zitting Village is just a village, but it is located in the Magic City and has all the necessary facilities. The house where Chendong was hiding was somewhat remote, and Su-yi took out his sword from his guitar box and slowly approached. Walking outside the door, a powerful spiritual force perceives the qi and blood inside. The footsteps are light and slow. Right now. In the room, Chendong's face had a hint of fear and a fierce expression, and he felt a strong aura of blood and energy. There was a strong one. Very strong. Run. Chendong didn't do it. He wanted to pick up the package and burst out the door. Just as he opened the door, he received a fierce sword strike from Su-yi. Feeling a boiling force of qi and blood, Chendong quickly turned to his side and subconsciously lifted his left hand to block the sword. Not good, I can't stop it. The left hand was directly chopped off, and the package on his hand fell to the ground. Chendong endured immense pain and kicked it out, landing on the door and retreating with the help of the anti-shock force. Staring at the window, wanting to break through. Su-yi saw his plan and, disregarding his sword, kicked his right foot towards Chendong's chest. Bang! Chendong was kicked out and hit the wall, convulsing and motionless. Chendong's mind was spinning wildly, enduring the excruciating pain as he tried to pretend to be dead. The strong person who alarmed him earlier was intentional, he must have come to protect this little kid. Whether it's for him to be tempered or whatever, this brat must not have much combat experience, or have never seen blood. There is a strong guard behind him, and he is almost certain to die, but even if he dies, he will have to pull a cushion. Am I the object of experience? You will regret it. Are you dead? Su-yi took a breath. Before he could even reach the door, he heard the commotion inside, disrupting his plans. He had to take each step and quickly wield a sword. Yes, dead. Come closer and listen to Su-yi's footsteps as he approaches. Chendong calculates the distance. Stopping and looking at the figure on the ground, Su-yi grabbed a kettle and threw it forcefully at Chendong's head. Bang! The kettle hit Chendong's head and exploded, causing his head to break and bleed. Ah! A scream sounded, and Chendong quickly wanted to get up. It shouldn't be, how could it be like this? Before getting up, Su-yi stabbed his heart with a sword. Silly fork, really treat me as foolish. Can't you see that you're pretending to be dead? Looking at Chendong, who was unwilling to die, Su-yi wiped the blood off his face with his sleeve. His high mental strength is not something that can be imagined. Sitting on the bed next to him, Su-yi took a deep breath and the danger was lifted. This is his first time killing someone, I can't say how he feels. Disgusting, I can't say it. Stimulating, a little bit, the heart beat faster. I'm a bit scared. Chendong, I remember you now, Su-yi murmured in his heart. Duh. Qi Nanxing walked into the room and sat next to Su-yi. The palm pressed on Su-yi's shoulder, and his voice was somewhat complicated. Is everything okay? Watching his friend's child start fighting, Qi Nanxing felt very uncomfortable in his heart. Su-yi raised his head and spoke in a very complicated tone. I can't say it's good or bad. At the beginning, I was a bit nervous, but after killing it, I was a bit scared. I didn't think too much during the battle. But I'll get used to it. This is a warrior. Qi Nanxing bent his fingers on Su-yi's shoulder and used a little force, then smiled gently and said, yes, it's good to get used to it. This is a warrior. Alright, the people from the detective bureau are coming over to take over. Let me talk to you about your recent battle first. Qi Nanxing began to shift the topic, but it was not abrupt. The post-war summary was the most effective, and he was able to clearly grasp his shortcomings. Chendong didn't prepare enough before going out and acted hastily. Su-yi nodded. It was me who did it, and my burst of qi and blood alarmed him. I know, are you planning to see my temporary reaction? Yes, various situations will arise during the mission, even if the intelligence is not necessarily accurate. They are all human beings with their own ideas, and it is not surprising that some have made temporary breakthroughs. Qi Nanxing said with some seriousness, your preparation is not enough, otherwise your sword would have been enough to kill him when he opened the door, but your handling afterwards was good. After finishing speaking, he walked to the door and picked up a dropped package from Chendong's left hand, which had been chopped off. He flipped through several bottles of pills. After taking a glance, he handed the pill to Su-yi and said, your loot is not bad. You have 5 first-grade qi and blood pills, 2 first-grade bone-quenching pills, and 10 ordinary qi and blood pills worth 110 credits plus 75,000 yuan in cash. Taking the pill and cash casually, Su-yi meticulously summarized his post-war experience. After completing the handover with the investigators, Qi Nanxing escorted him back home. At home, Su-yi hurriedly walked upstairs and entered the bathroom. After washing for a long time, until no longer smelling the bloody smell on his body, Su-yi changed clothes and lay on the bed feeling the afterglow of the sunset. The battle did not consume much qi and blood, it was just that the short time left Su-yi mentally exhausted. Finally, this step has been taken. In the next few days, Su-yi gradually received a second-grade middle section. A second-grade high-level task. During the day, besides finding people, quenching bones, and practicing war techniques. After killing the mission target at night, continue practicing. On June 12, Su-yi's swordsmanship had already matured, capable of chopping 80 calories of qi and blood. Compared to oneself, the qi and blood have exceeded 20%, which can be considered as mastering the killer's trump card. On June 13, Su-yi took on a second-grade peak mission, found the target of the mission, and killed it with one sword. On June 14, Su-yi set his sights on the third grade and took on the task of starting with the third grade. When the target was found, it had already risen to the middle level of the third grade. Su-yi did not choose to give up the mission and ultimately killed the target of the third-rank middle section of the mission. The gap between third-grade martial artists is not that big before refining their spine. High-level third-level warriors can defeat 10 third-level warriors. Su-yi doesn't have the trouble of being arrogant and looking for third-grade high grades. This goal has temporarily completed the tempering of the ribs, making it very difficult for Su-yi to fight. Wandering around and using yunbu to drag them to death. Now he is also the second-grade warrior. For beginners in the third grade, there are not many major problems yet, while those in the third grade are more difficult. This is also Su-yi's first injury, although it was not severe. Without choosing to take on the task again, Su-yi chose to go home to recuperate. 5 tasks come down. The Detective Bureau has awarded a total of 155 credits. Nearly 900 credits of resources have been seized. The third-rank warrior here also occupies nearly 300 credits of resources. Not all warriors carry a lot of resources, usually only some essential chi and blood pills and bone-quenching pills. On June 17, it was announced in the news that the Ministry of Education's priority line for this year was set at 589 points. On this day, Su-yi completed the tempering of upper limb bones and first limb bones. Countless resources have piled up to achieve such a speed, with an average of 1.5 bones per day. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Top scorer in the college entrance examination. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Top scorer in the college entrance examination. Less than 10 days after the end of the college entrance examination, the grades of the cultural course exam came down. Su-yi entered his admission ticket number and confirmed his identity information. Upon entering the query page, I glanced at it and was still somewhat surprised. Language. 150 Mathematics. 150 Political History and Geography. 150 Physical and Chemical Biology. 300 total score. 750. I got full marks in the college entrance examination. I thought I would deduct 1 or 2 points from Chinese and politics, but I usually deduct 1 or 2 points from mock exams. However, with a significant increase in comprehension and memory, the number of full marks in the annual college entrance examination is quite high. Mainly, it depends on the results of the martial arts exam. Name. Su-yi Chi and Blood. 285 calories. Professional courses. 100 points, on a percentage basis, actual measurement. 100 points, on a percentage basis, perfect results. Although he had been prepared for a long time, Su-yi still couldn't calm down when he saw his grades. Magic City Champion. Top scorer in the college entrance examination. Still achieving full marks in both civil and martial arts. After receiving the news, the media and television stations almost destroyed the office of Magic City Affiliated Middle School. Principal, the phone number for Mo television station. Principal, this is the phone number for Huagua News. The principal of Magic City Affiliated Middle School, who was waiting for the results of the college entrance examination, personally called Su-yi to congratulate him and talked about the interview. Su-yi's eyes lit up as he waited for this moment. Cough, cough. Su-yi adjusted his mood slightly and said gently, "Principal, will the interview be very troublesome?" "No, we can transfer a phone interview." The principal, who was considering how to persuade Su-yi, quickly replied, "With so many newspapers and TV stations, how much exposure is needed? You only need to accept an interview, and the interview content can be authorized to other newspapers and TV stations for free." Su-yi hesitated and dragged out the final sound, "That's it. Cough, Xiaoyi, just help the school. You see, the school is about to start admitting new students, and it's time for a lack of exposure. Upon hearing Su Yi's hesitation, the principal quickly played the emotional card. Then let's take the TV interview. Upon hearing that Su Yi finally agreed, the principal quickly breathed a sigh of relief. By the way, Xiaoyi. This time you passed the national top scorer exam, the education department is preparing to reward you with an additional 5 million yuan scholarship, and the school has also prepared a 3 million yuan scholarship for you. Okay, thank you, principal. The Magic City TV station has started conducting an exclusive interview. Su Yi's own home. Looking at the handsome and energetic journalist Su Yi, he began to ask, how can you achieve full marks on the exam? Su Yi smiled humbly and replied, effort, talent, and some luck. The reporter smiled and said, you are really humble. You are already a warrior. Can you share your views on warriors? After thinking for a while, Su Yi began to seriously say, warriors are a privileged class, and many people don't understand why they have such a high status. Even my parents, who are also warriors, have never told me why. Your parents? The reporter asked curiously. Yes, he passed away 3 years ago when he was on a mission. Sorry, the reporter began to apologize repeatedly. Su Yi didn't take it to heart and waved his hand as he continued, it's okay, I've been used to it for a long time. I don't know if the high status of martial artists is right or not, maybe they also have their own responsibilities. A cult. Detective Bureau. I don't know, and no one has told me before, but I think there may be reasons for not saying it, and the government won't harm us. With a shrug, Su Yi continued confidently, I am already in the middle of my second level and will soon enter the Magic City Martial Arts University. With my talent, I should be able to quickly achieve a breakthrough in the third level. If there is really any responsibility that a warrior needs to take on, I think I am prepared. A ray of sunlight hit Su Yi's face right in. So dazzling, the reporter believes that this scene will definitely be deeply remembered by many people. After regaining consciousness, the reporter sorted out his thoughts and said, you said you are already a warrior in the middle of the second grade. Seeing Su Yi nod, he continued to ask in surprise, how did you make such rapid progress? Your chi and blood in the martial arts exam should be in the middle of the first grade. The reporter had also done some homework before coming and learned some basic information about Su Yi, such as the school and the 3 times of bone quenching. Both resources and efforts are indispensable. Can you give an evaluation of Magic City Martial Arts University? My father is the mentor of magic martial arts, so. Quickly, newspapers and interviews had already been published. How handsome. Full marks for both civil and martial arts. It's hard to justify someone like this without dissecting them. Second grade middle section. Are the Tianjiao of the Magic City so terrifying? Triple bone quenching, I can't even pass through 1 bone quenching. I can't even pass the physical test. Is there such a big gap between people? Gun yo bi. Okay, with such a younger generation, what's so scary about us old folks? Su Yi's exclusive interview instantly caused a huge uproar throughout the country. The top scorer in the National College Entrance Examination with full marks in both civil and martial arts. A warrior in the middle of the second grade. Still a warrior who has broken through the bone 3 times. Any one of the 3 is a remarkable thing, and now there are people who combine the 3. Many people are starting to discuss how such people actually achieve this. And Su Yi officially unlocked a title called Other People's Children. Although someone had already called him this way when he was in school, it was only a small area after all. But now it is on a large scale nationwide. Both parents died, but they persevered in self-improvement. Successfully become the top scorer in the National College Entrance Examination. I don't know how many parents aspire to become their ideal children. In the eyes of girls, Su Yi, who is strong and confident, with a sunny and gentle smile, is simply an indescribable flower of the mountains. Good grades, high strength, handsome appearance, and gentle speech. Such a boy is simply the perfect template for a dream boyfriend. In the eyes of the boy, it's okay, but more of it's just envy and admiration. Not many people are dissatisfied, and when the difference is not significant, they will be dissatisfied. Under such a large gap, let's forget about it. However, the most influential ones are still mid to high-level warriors, because only they are truly warriors and the ones who truly fulfill their responsibilities. They have shouldered the heavy burden of decades and generations. When they saw these reports, I don't know how many people were in tears. They have supported the backbone of humanity for the happiness of future generations. How many people were buried in the cave, unknown. However, having younger generations who can understand them and even follow their footsteps is a happy thing. It's also a sad thing. They know that the so-called mission death is probably also due to the underground caves. Su-E, in the middle of the 2nd grade, you will know about the cave after the 3rd grade. We will eventually embark on the same path as them. At this moment, Su-E was quietly watching the rising energy points. It has only been 4 hours since the report was released, and 2,200 energy points have been accumulated. In addition, the accumulated energy points over the past 20 days have reached 7,400. The average hourly increase is 550 points, which is the same as the previous 4 or 5 days, and it is still rapidly increasing. Although I know it won't last too long, I also hope it can be used more for a period of time in the future. It won't be as easy to affect the whole country next time. This time, it was only through the public attention of the college entrance examination. Perhaps next year's college entrance examination can also take advantage of the popularity of interviews. After more than 4 hours, the energy point reached 10,000. Su-E quickly began optimizing the refining method. 10,000 energy points disappear instantly. Name: Su-E Realm. 2nd rank martial arts master Chi and blood. 405 out of 440 calories spirit. 477 Hz per 489 Hz quenched bones. 97 pieces, 90%, 1 piece, 32%, 108 pieces, 30%. Knowledge. Intermediate level tactics. Falling Eagle Sword. Xiaocheng, optimization +1, Zhongping step method. Yunbu. Xiaocheng, optimization +1, basic cultivation method. Quenching method, optimization +3, a horse step pile, optimization +1. Stationary space, basic fist technique. Xiaocheng, basic leg techniques. Deshang, basic swordsmanship. Deshang, optimization +1, energy. 23 points damaged state. 4.65% optimization completed. The current refining method increases qi and blood absorption by 30%, bone quenching speed by 30%, and also reduces qi and blood consumption by 30%. The terrible effect comes at the cost of starting to accumulate energy points again. However, according to Su-Yi's calculation, excluding the peak heat period in these days, the decrease should not be too severe. After all, this era is not like the internet explosion of later generations. That situation is really difficult to collect. Su-Yi slowly planned the usage of energy points, and optimizing each of the intermediate level tactics required an additional 20,000 energy points. As for the deduction, Su-Yi gave it a try and created a basic battle method that only requires 500 energy points. At the beginning, it couldn't even be deduced, which made Su-Yi think that the deduction function was damaged. I only realized after practicing the stake technique and the refining method that deduction is not something out of nothing, at least it cannot be done now. At that time, deducing a basic battle requires 1,000 energy points. The mid-range tactics require 100,000 yuan. The current mid-range tactics still require 50,000 energy points to create. Such high energy points are completely unnecessary. In Su Yi's eyes, even mid to high quality tactics are unnecessary to waste energy points. Wadali is not impossible to learn, what is truly needed are spiritual cultivation techniques, golden body 9 forging techniques, spiritual warfare techniques, and so on. These techniques are important for high-quality cultivation. Su Yi cannot go to that territory now. I can't even learn these combat skills, can I still rely on the Jintian king to provide them? If he were willing to give, he would have given it long ago. After much contemplation, the deduction from the Book of Knowledge is the best choice. Su Yi's use of spiritual power is still too superficial, to the point of not using it at all. Not reaching 500 Hz, not even able to perceive and capture energy particles. So it's completely impossible to deduce the spiritual cultivation method, even if it can be deduced. Su Yi's estimate suggests that it requires over 1 million energy points. This also requires a certain understanding of the utilization of spiritual power. End of this chapter.